Good morning, Stephen.
Hello, Catherine.
Let's start off with our top story in the news update, the protests in Hong Kong. A strong reaction on the markets too.
Yeah, we have seen the Hang Seng index of shares in Hong Kong hit its lowest level since July as a result of these protests. It's trading down over 2% at the moment. It's not a trend, in fact, that we're seeing mirrored across the Asian markets. We've seen gains in Tokyo and earlier in Shanghai as well. Let's see if we can have a look at those figures. So you can see the Hang Seng down over 2%, but Shanghai and the Nikkei trading up. The Hong Kong dollar is also frozen there on foot of those protests. For more on this, let's go to Singapore now and speak to Ryan Huang, who's a market analyst at IG. He's been watching those markets closely today. Ryan, thanks for joining us. Where are the big movements happening on that market in Hong Kong?
Right, quite an interesting day today. We're seeing a lot of, weak sentiment, especially in retail stocks, tourism stocks, especially the big holiday coming up, China's National Day holiday on Wednesday. So that's going to be a dampener on tourism numbers. So any impact on that's going to be bad news for retailers, going to be bad news for tourism numbers, as well as we're seeing also banks as well being hit today on sentiment. And banks are shut today, jewelry shops as well shut today. So all these among the top losers on the Hang Seng today.
We've a 2% fall as we're seeing on the Hang Seng. Put that in context for it. Is that a huge fall comparatively to what perhaps over the past months or years?
Yeah, 2%. So this is setting up to be the biggest daily drop since February. And it just builds on the bearish sentiment we've been seeing over the past few weeks. So if you just look at September alone, there were only 5 positive sessions in September. So this month is going to be another bearish tone for the next few weeks as well.
And what about the currency markets as well? We have seen some movement of the Hong Kong dollar.
Yep, Hong Kong dollar, that's pretty much a 6-month low. I think it's still some way to go with all the things still happening. So that's something to watch as well, especially if the US dollar getting strength against many currencies.
Okay, that's a story I'm sure we're following over the next couple of days. Ryan Huang in Singapore, thank you for joining us.
What about the European markets then, Stephen? What's happening as trade opens up there?
Nothing quite so dramatic at the open of the European markets. Pretty flat, in fact, on those opening figures from Europe. Over in London, oil companies like Tullow Oil and Petrofac doing well, their shares up. But there's a massive fall for the construction firm Balfour Beatty. They're down over 20% after issuing yet another profit warning. Despite that, you can see London's FTSE 100 just eking out some slight gains. In Paris, interestingly, the shares in Air France KLM, of course, after that strike being called off, up 2.8% in trading today.
And there is still some disruption to Air France's flights, isn't there?
Yeah, that's right. It's not completely out of the woods yet. The airline, 40% of flights cancelled today as Air France tries to get its fleet back to work. Pilots on Sunday agreed to end their 2-week strike after the company abandoned its plans to expand its low-cost carrier Transavia. The airline was paid out 280 million euros it cost them that 2-week strike. But the pilots didn't get everything they wanted either. Delanda Souza has more.
For the past 2 weeks, the strike brought flights at Air France to a near halt. Pilots at the company have been demanding the same work contracts and benefits applied to flight crew at low-cost operator Transavia. Their strike continued as the airline denied their requests. Air France employees accused the pilots of holding the company hostage by walking off the job.
To see planes grounded, that's not how we work. There's been a real rift. I hope I'm wrong, but a rift between the employees.
Flight disruptions at Air France have forced the management to make concessions. The company wanted to boost low-cost operator Transavia Europe in order to turn itself around. However, they gave in to the pilots and axed the plan. Air France now says it will go ahead with the development of Transavia in France, a project the company says is strategic for its future.
We're now going to get down to the development of Transavia in France on the planned scale. We're going to create 1,000 jobs in France, including 250 pilot jobs, and be able to face up to the competition from low-cost companies on an equal footing. This reform is vital.
The financial impact of the strike has been disastrous for Air France. The airline lost 280 million euros over the past 2 weeks, and along with its image being tarnished, the carrier's position against the competition has weakened.
Right, finally then, Stephen, something completely different. It's Fashion Week here in Paris. We've got a fashion story to end our business bulletin.
Yeah, we have. Now, the cynical among us might say it could be a good day to announce things to the Hong Kong Stock Exchange, and that's exactly what the fashion house Prada has done. It's announced that its two CEOs, Miuccia Prada Bianchi and Patrizio Bertelli, are both facing investigation in Italy for tax evasion. Now, the inquiry follows a voluntary disclosure made by them back in 2013. The move came as the fashion house had moved its holding company from Luxembourg back to Italy. Now, Prada has pointed out the company itself is not involved in these investigations, just their two CEOs, and they said neither them nor their subsidiaries are involved in this matter.
Okay, very interesting news from Prada. Thanks very much. Stephen Carroll there with a roundup of the business news for you. Let's move on with a look through the top stories in the international press.